And a bright welcome to everybody out there. Hope you can see me. Okay. Introductions. Rick Huffman. Hi. Cannabis activist, medical cannabis patient in Arizona. And I'm here to talk to everybody. Hoping this video, this is number 126 in my series. I have 126 videos on YouTube. You can find them all right from this one. And they're all on marijuana. Well, 2 on kratom, but that's it. But I'm a cannabis activist. Why? Because I know it works. It helps me live a higher quality of life than I would be able to live, than I was able to live 10 years ago, when I started getting fibromyalgia, osteoarthritis, everything. I have 6 chronic pain conditions and PTSD. And I'm an opiate user, prescribed opiates and cannabis together. And I gotta say, there's no opioid epidemic if people use cannabis. Cannabis helps people get off of addictions. When you have a heroin addict and you send them to a methadone clinic, they just went from getting heroin every day to getting methadone every day. And it will never stop. It won't. Heroin and methadone together are forever. Cannabis attenuates the symptoms of all addictions. And it helps people get off of all addictions. Cigarettes, alcohol, heroin, even chocolate. If you're addicted to chocolate, the anandamide in cannabis will take place of it. And cannabis is not anything like reefer madness or anything like what Jeff Sessions and his cronies in the Department of Justice and DEA say. Whatever they say, take it with a grain of salt. Do a simple Google search and you will find all the facts. Now, like I said, I keep this informal, even though I'm talking to senators, congresspeople, law enforcement officials, wherever this video goes. It's got to go everywhere. I want it viral. Send this around the world. Send this to the White House and the Department of Justice, because they've got to know that what they're doing is wrong and bad for people. They're evil. The U.S. started their war on drugs back in the day, and it failed. To this day, it is still failing. Yet we're still pumping out billions of dollars a year in this failed war on drugs. And they are now talking about going after the legitimately scripted medical marijuana in all the states that have made it. Medical. They're attacking patients. They're attacking me. Okay? A disabled veteran who needs this for chronic pain. Okay? And they're getting down on this, and it's bullcrap. It scares people. People worry that they're not going to be able to get a medicine. This is a medicine. It cures cancer. I've got 21 shocking statistics on cannabis on my phone. I'm going to be going off my phone here in a minute. But I wanted to tell senators and congresspeople and everybody else, state legislatures, listen to this. The Department of Justice will never be able to touch legal cannabis in states that legalized if we invoke the 10th Amendment to the Constitution. The 10th Amendment. Where is it? A very simple one sentence is all this takes. This is the 10th Amendment, as stated in the Bill of Rights. ratified December 15th, 1791. Amendment the 10th. The powers not delegated to the United States government by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states. In other words, if the states prohibit the same laws, okay? Hold on, I hate these. Hello.
This is an important message regarding your current credit card account.
I don't have a credit card account with you. I hate those cold calls. Sorry. The powers not delegated to the federal government in the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. What does that mean? That means that since the Constitution does not state no hemp, no marijuana in the Constitution, it is not in there. Those words are not in there. Since the federal government is limited by the Constitution, by what it says we can have. Now I know if this goes to SCOTUS, Supreme Court, it's got to pass. And then all states can decriminalize. And the federal government has to start allowing marijuana people to use the banking system. Because right now, who knows where they are with their money, okay? And that gives people the opportunity to rip off other people, okay? So these dispensaries not being able to put their money in the banks leaves them open for violent crime, for people to steal their money and maybe kill them. Think about that. Then think about this. This right here. I could sit here and smoke one of these over and over, and I'll keep talking to you, and you won't see much of a problem. Now, if I were to sit here with beer, by the third or fourth beer that I could polish off really quick within 15 minutes, I'll start slurring my words, okay? And I'll start getting lost more than I usually do, because I do anyway. It's my pain. Pain does a lot to the body. And it's not good. What pain does is not good. But anyway, the 10th Amendment to the Constitution. I don't know why everybody's going on the Rohrabacher-Blumenauer Amendment and the Cole Memorandum. We don't need those. Invoke the 10th Amendment to the Bill of Rights. All states have the right to enact their own particular laws. And cannabis and hemp fall under the auspices of the 10th Amendment. Okay? So, all you guys in the government, that's it. All you have to do is invoke the 10th Amendment. And if the Attorney General wants to take it up the line, then it goes to the SCOTUS. Okay? And the Supreme Court is probably just as decided as the rest of Americans. 60% of Americans last year, and this year is 64%, support legalized medical marijuana and adult use, meaning recreational. 64% of Americans, up 4% from last year and up 30% from a decade ago. Support keeps growing for marijuana. Why? Because people have been learning from people like my videos and other things on the internet. You can find all the good stuff about cannabis. And you'll find lots of stuff. Here's something I saw. It was on a Worldwide Stoners, one of the stoner pages. It said, marijuana, 88,000 annual deaths. 30 people die daily in the U.S. in car crashes involving cannabis. And teen cannabis use kills 4,700 children annually. And at the bottom of it, it says, joke. Those are the statistics for alcohol. Alcohol. Advertised on TV. Glorified. Okay? The champagne of beers. Miller Time. Bud Light, less calories. You can drink more. And people do. Because that shit's like piss water. I put away Bud Light like nothing. I drink Foster's, the strong stuff. Good English beers and shit like that. But anyway, that was alcohol. Cannabis, how many deaths? Zero. None. Nothing. The only way you die due to marijuana is if a bale of it falls on you, a serial killer named marijuana, or if you're making an illegal drug trade and you get shot during the transaction. That's the only way marijuana can kill you. They cannot link it to lung cancer. In fact, it does beneficial things to the lungs. Back 5 years ago when I started my medical marijuana, I had COPD, asthma, chronic bronchitis, and I routinely got pneumonia in the winter from breathing the cold air. Routinely. Like in my youth, every year I had strep throat until I was like 20s, in my 20s. Every year I had strep throat. For a while there, every year I was getting pneumonia with the chronic bronchitis and asthma, even after I quit smoking for a year. Now when I went to marijuana, I went there from OxyContin and psych meds. Messed me up. I was pushing 200 pounds when I usually run 150. So I gained 50 pounds on the psych meds and OxyContin, and I had a monkey on my back. A gorilla. And I had a total personality change. You wouldn't know me from Adam the way I am now as compared to 2013. Now, when I went off the oxy and psych meds, bad withdrawals. The doctor said, let's try morphine and marijuana. I said, you're the doctor. It has been a godsend. I don't believe in God, but it's a godsend. That's the term you use. It has changed my life. It has allowed me to live a quality of life. I'm still homebound and disabled, and I live at the end of a dead-end road, and I see nobody on a daily basis except my dog, cat, and wife, and anybody I might talk to on Skype or Messenger. But that's it. I'm a recluse because of all of my pain conditions. You have no idea what kind of pain I'm in now. I'm in 5-6 pain. I've been flaring for almost 2 months. Just right around after Thanksgiving when we hit a really bad cold snap, and ever since then the cold is just in my bones and in my muscles. That's fibromyalgia. On top of that, I have the osteoarthritis. If you look at things like this finger, see it won't go close. It won't close. This right here clicks. This one clicks. It's like I've got clicks. I make more noise standing up without even using my voice box. Just my body. Crack, 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 crack. Cannabis saved my life. If I was still on OxyContin and psych meds, I would probably be near death right now. And I had bad liver enzymes and all kinds of bad things in my blood tests while I was on all these meds. Ever since going on morphine and marijuana, all my tests come out, bing, right in where they're supposed to be. I might hit the ceiling on some things, mostly cholesterol, I'm at the ceiling I'm just under the wire. But everything else, see, opiates do things to people. The OxyContin did stuff to me with the, okay? Cannabis reverses so many things. And it helps. Additionally, cannabis and morphine sulfate together have worked. They're working for me. I can be coherent. Okay? I've been shut off for a couple weeks now. That happens once in a while. That's just a long flare. It's from the fibromyalgia. But without cannabis, I would not be here. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be speaking to you today. Or I wouldn't have done all the 200 hours of previous videos I've done. All of that is due to marijuana. And that's why I'm an activist. And that's why I have to say that we need to use the 10th Amendment. And we need people to think. All those numbers on alcohol. Okay? Nothing. Pot is nothing like it. Alcohol belongs as a Schedule I narcotic as far as I'm concerned. Alcohol is a man-made, dangerous drug. Just like OxyContin is fracked morphine, and that's what makes it so dangerous. And fentanyl, too. Morphine sulfate's mild compared to oxy and fentanyl. Those things will kill you in a heartbeat. Okay? I'm on 240 milligrams of morphine sulfate a day. And marijuana as I see fit. As much as I can afford, and as much as I can smoke. And I can smoke as much as I want. Let me get to some things here. I've got a whole bunch of websites that I like to go through, and I like to do my, it hurts to take notes. It hurts my hands to take notes. So, I save things on my clipboard. I have some things here. Here it is. Come on, get up here. Shocking weed statistics. People have got to hear this. This is from herb.co. Herb. The momentum of the cannabis movement continues to shock the world. Every week, new statistics are released that show surging support for marijuana reform, and it touts the herb's medical benefits. So, to sum up the best of the best, they created a list of 21 of the most eye-opening weed statistics. Now, this is where you politicians out there got to listen. Okay, when you're sipping your champagne at your party, remember, you got somebody driving you home. There's millions and millions of alcoholics out there that nobody's going to drive home but themselves. And that's where you got 30 people a day dying in auto accidents involving alcohol, not cannabis. Number one, it takes 800 joints for you to die from carbon monoxide poisoning. And that's the only way the weed will kill you. It's not the weed. It's the carbon monoxide. Because if you'd have to smoke 800 joints quickly in one sitting, you would die from carbon monoxide poisoning, not the THC. And let's see, for marijuana to kill you from an overdose, 40,000 times your average amount. Imagine, if you can smoke a joint in 1 second, you'd have to smoke 40,000 joints in 40,000 seconds to kill yourself constantly. You can't. Weed users eat 600 more calories per day on average. But they have lower BMIs, body mass index, and smaller waistlines than non-smoking counterparts. Weed puts your metabolism into overdrive, makes you crave food, but it acts as a digestive aid, and it makes you hungry and helps you use what you eat better. You utilize your food energy better. Your body's fat. Rates of obesity are 1/3 lower for marijuana consumers. I don't need to go into the... and studies have shown that marijuana cuts the risk of becoming obese by about a third. And this is probably because weed helps your body regulate blood sugars. All these new drugs coming out, Ibrance, Invokana, all these, or I don't know, Invokana is DVT and PT, I don't know, whatever. These new glutides and stuff that they tell you, keep taking your insulin. But now you need this for your A1C levels. Your A1C level is a picture of what your blood sugar levels were for a 3-month period. You can do that yourself. And you don't need an injection to do it. It says, and these things say diabetic coma and death is the #1 side effect on some of these things. Okay? Stick with your insulin and smoke weed. And they're looking right now. This is the reason, the statistical coincidence is mostly the reason why the herb is currently being studied as a treatment for type 2 diabetics. Here's one. This will shock the hell out of you. Every hemp plant, one plant, could save 12 trees. And we can grow hemp plants by the millions. Okay? In the corn belt, the oat, wheat belt, in there, hemp. And guess what? We could start utilizing it as a fossil instead of fossil fuels. It makes better biodiesel than corn. But that's something else. Like it says right here, it's ridiculous that the world isn't growing more hemp. The weed's non-psychoactive sibling that contains quite a bit of CBD, which is excellent for everybody and people of all ages, from infants to seniors on their deathbeds. Pot, CBD is safe. It is. There's no doubts about it. CBD is one of the safest substances that we can ever use. It's safer than table salt, people. But by making the switch to hemp, dramatically cuts down on our need for timber and use of fossil fuels. This plant is one of the most sustainable choices out there. Here's one that shows you the racism there is. Black people, African Americans, whatever, are 3.3 times more likely than whites to get arrested for pot. According to the report by the American Civil Liberties Union, that number grows to around 8 times more likely in some states, namely Iowa, D.C., and Minnesota. 8 times more likely to get busted for weed. The same ACLU report found that on average, whites and blacks consume marijuana at the same rates. And Harry Anslinger, the original drug czar in 1937, blamed African Americans and low-life Mexicans for the marijuana crisis. It wasn't a crisis. Marijuana was in our pharmacopoeia for over 100 years. And when we took it out of the pharmacopoeia, people started to get lactose intolerant. We started to need vaccines. Okay? People started getting unhealthier, living shorter lives, and cancer. Cancer blossomed after we took cannabis and hemp out of the food chain. Look at the numbers. Go on back in numbers, and you'll see that in the 1940s, early 50s, we had a blossom cancer. Legalizing weed in the U.S. would earn $8.7 billion. Annually. Can anybody out there say national debt fixed? The wall against Mexico built with hempcrete. Think about it. Marijuana is the fastest growing U.S. industry. by ArcView Market Research found that the recreational cannabis market grew 74% in 2014. The staggering number has earned marijuana the title of the fastest growing U.S. industry. And the medical marijuana industry wasn't far behind, bringing in $1.2 billion just in medical marijuana. Marijuana prohibition cost the U.S. state and federal governments totally $17.5 billion a year. Legalizing marijuana will give us $8.7 billion annually. Well, that means in 2 years you've paid for a year of the war on drugs. If they leave pot alone, that number will drop. If the governments were to legalize all drugs, we would save $41.3 billion annually. That's an interesting statistic when you keep countries like Portugal in mind. Portugal cut its rates of drug abuse in half within 10 years of decriminalization of all drugs. What does that mean? It wasn't taboo, so people didn't bother doing it. In 2014, the DEA took over 74 million joints away from the U.S. public. And how much of that was legally possessed? Last year, the DEA seized over almost 164,000 pounds, 74,000 kilograms of domestic weed. That's equivalent to 72 million 1 gram joints. 147 million people in the world globally use marijuana. That's 2.5% of the population of the earth. Cultures around the world have been using cannabis in some way or another for centuries, millennia actually. And it's no surprise then to find that it's currently the most commonly used illicit drug in the world. Why is it illicit? Because of Harry Anslinger and the stupid Controlled Substances Act. We'll get to more of that later. Today's weed is 57 to 67% more potent than it was in 1970. And I got buzzed back in the 70s. I don't get a buzz now. There's a little trivia. I don't feel my morphine. I don't feel my pot. Seroquel, I can take one and it'll knock me down for a nap and make me feel like a little woozy. Morphine is supposed to do that, but it doesn't because it's got so much pain to go through that after a while the morphine's gone before the pain is. And then the same with the cannabis. I can smoke a bunch, but I still hit a point where I can't get below on the pain level. So I can't ever get down to a normal level. But the invention of hydroponics gardening system may have been the best thing ever introduced to the cannabis industry. The only problem is it's not green. It uses a lot of energy. But if they use solar to power their indoor growing, use solar power to power the grow lights, that'll help clean it up. But the herb in the 60s and 70s was nowhere near what it is today. In fact, it was common for people to smoke stem and leaf bits instead of bud because that's where all the THC was. But now they've grown it to where the buds are nice and dense and hold all the THC and other cannabinoids that you need. Now, 80% of domestically grown marijuana comes from California, Tennessee, Kentucky, Hawaii, and Washington. It says, move over moonshine. Appalachian backcountry has a new favorite crop. Oddly enough, only one of America's primary weed-producing states has legalized recreational. California and Hawaii are considered likely to legalize by the general public. Now, 1/3 of combined U.S. cannabis crops are grown indoors because it's federally illegal to grow. Indoor growing nationwide uses about the same amount of power as 1.7 million homes. That's the same output given by 7 power plants. But solar. Out here in Arizona, you can grow indoors or outdoors. And if you grow indoors, you use the sun to power it. And outdoors, you got the sunlight. Oh, I wanted to say something though. I got corrected by somebody on YouTube about the cannabis hyperemesis syndrome. When I talked about it, I only had so much fact that I could find. Well, this person said that it's neem oil, Neem, or azataracanth oil. It was used as a fertilizer for pot. Neem oil is what causes the cannabis hyperemesis syndrome. Once again, it is not the pot. Lots of people go to the ER with fast heart rates. They're in a panic attack because they don't know how to handle a high. And it doesn't kill. Still, no deaths ever attributed. Remember this. Now, 9%, this is anecdotal really, 9% of marijuana users become addicted. By comparison, 15% of alcohol users get addicted. Rates of tobacco addiction outpaced heroin by 9%. A whopping 32% of tobacco smokers become addicted, but only 23% of heroin users. Now, over 35 U.S. states have some sort of legal allowance for marijuana, or the Cannabaceae family, because they allow hemp, CBD oil. So yes, over half the U.S. states have some type of relaxation of weed policy, but in some states it's only the legalization of the CBD oil. Hempsavedme.com. You can buy that hemp oil. It is awesome. It's legal. 4 U.S. states have fully legalized recreational: Colorado, Oregon, Washington, and Alaska. And D.C. has decriminalized or legalized. Now, there are 111 different cannabinoids in marijuana. Cannabinoids, people, these are the active components of the marijuana. They're hydrocarbons. I know nobody wants a chemistry lesson, but hydrocarbons are the building blocks of life. Our bodies crave them. The building blocks of amino acids and proteins that make our DNA. The endocannabinoid system. All of our cells in our body are made to absorb cannabinoids. That's why they can even make a topical salve, because it'll get your muscles high. I say it gets your muscles high, but you don't feel high. It's your muscles. That stuff is excellent. It's great. It helps me with my bad muscle right here. But cannabinoids are naturally occurring in our bodies. Okay? Female people out there, females, ladies, when you get pregnant, your brain sends a signal from your endocannabinoid system to the babies. And it crosses the fetal barrier. And it turns on the baby's endocannabinoid system. Because when you give birth, your milk contains cannabinoids to keep the baby calm and hungry. Naturally, mom does not need to ingest weed for this to happen. But if you're breastfeeding a baby, if you're pregnant, CBD hemp oil throughout the pregnancy and while you're nursing, because it gets to the child and it turns on their endocannabinoid system and it allows their body to produce cannabinoids. Okay, that's probably one of the things that they say is breastfeeding is better than formula, because the mom can impart so many things onto the child. Okay? Natural vaccines. Okay? Things, like chickenpox, smallpox, whatever. It's just, cannabinoids are the safest substances ever. They're in the air we breathe. They're in the foods we eat, the water we drink. Hydrocarbons, hydrogen and carbon, the two simplest elements, basically. And it does a body good. As a non-religious person, I don't think about it that way, but read Genesis 1:29. For God has put all plants here to be as food for us and medicines, because foods are medicines. You can put parsley and rosemary and stuff in your foods. They do healthful things for you, beneficial things. Hemp seeds. Hemp seeds are a perfect protein, contain the perfect balance of omega-3s and 6s, like nothing else in the world does. And contains gamma-linolenic acid, very rare, but very crucial to our bodies. And that's legal hemp seeds. You can find them in the health food store or the health food aisles. Put them in a smoothie, they're good. But that's the whole thing, is hemp and cannabis and cannabinoids are the safest substances we could take in. The only downside is that there are tars and some other particulates in the smoke. That's why they've got tincture. This is 700 milligrams of THC in coconut oil and grapeseed oil. And I take just a quarter of a dropper and lay down, and I get to sleep really quick. That's it. That's just THC. And then they got the vapes. Guess what? You're not getting any tar. I got lemon drops. I got cherry drops. Once again, no tar. You're not inhaling anything. I have actually switched over to a lot of the edibles, the tinctures, and the medibles. This is $10. $10 gets me 3-gallon tea bags of pot tea. It's a big bag of pot made to go in and drink it hot or cold. I make it by the gallon. I take one hot off, and then I do the rest cold. And I've almost always got a glass by my side. And I'm not getting high from it, but I'm keeping my pain under control. That's why I wanted to intro myself to everybody and talk to you about what pain is. Okay, my pain levels on a daily basis. I wake up here, morphine gets me here, pot brings me down here. Then I have to do some workout, and then my pain level goes up. Just doing light Tai Chi, walking, standing, and and I get pains and exhaustion. But, like I said, cannabinoids. The cannabinoids are the safest substances we could ever ingest. And they do beneficial things to our bodies. And I have a list of over almost 200 diseases and syndromes and thousands of symptoms. Cannabis relieves all of those. Cannabis reverses Alzheimer's. Caught it in time, it'll stop it. And in a lot of cases, people regain their memories. Okay? Don't take this Namzuric shit. I'm sorry if they want to say slander me, but I'm sorry, but the side effects of Namzuric sound just terrible. But luckily for you, your parent doesn't remember it the next day, so they don't know how to be pissed at you. Because they'll wake up every day saying, "Oh God, I feel bad." Well, it's because of the pills. Cannabis, THC and CBD, strips the amyloid plaque off of the brain cells that is the cause of Alzheimer's, and it cleans it off, and it allows that brain cell to regrow cells. The brain cell group. Cannabinoids grow cells. It strengthens the cell walls. It helps strengthen your muscles. It helps people during workouts because it helps your metabolism. So it helps people go to the gym and work out and burn fat off even faster. It's so simple. But medical is the really main thing. Medical is what I'm really down about. And the cannabinoids. Your body takes, when you smoke up, you're getting all these cannabinoids in your system. Your body takes what it wants. Okay? That's how it works. Like when you overeat, your body puts fat where it wants. It's usually in the belly. It's one of the first starts, and man boobs. Okay? But hey, pot has helped me. It helped me drop 60 pounds in less than 6 months. Pot helped me take all that weight from the oxy and psych meds. From 200 pounds, boom, down to 140. 10 pounds under my nominal. But I don't do anything. I'm sedentary life here. Very hard for me to get a good workout. Because my heart rate and stuff goes sky high after just a short walk. But the cannabinoids go where they need, and your body utilizes them. Just like your liver utilizes iron. Okay? Sorry, I'm in a lot of pain right now. Let's get through this video. Stick with me, folks. Couples that smoke weed together are less likely to experience domestic violence. And in the case of me and my wife, she's fine with it in the house. She quit cigarettes, so I smoke cigarettes outside. So she's okay with it. She doesn't get a contact high. She says, oh, it smells pretty. And I have big vaulted ceilings and stuff and 2 air purifiers running. That keeps it away from my animals. But it helps. We have a very healthy, smooth going life here. We disagree, but, it's over, after one of us gives in or whatever. And the pot does not add to it. Now, in my previous marriages, alcohol was a problem. Not always on my side either. Because I've always been a controlled alcoholic. I didn't drink like my dad. Just drink. I stopped, Yeah, I got my sick time, but whatever. But alcohol causes domestic violence. My home, growing up, my dad would come home drunk, 4 o'clock in the morning. And he never hit my mom. But he swung at her once. Fake swinging, but he swung and punched a hole in the wall. My mom said, "You go ahead, son of a bitch. You gotta go to bed sometime." Scared the shit out of him. He slept in the living room in the lazy boy. That's how I grew up. With an alcoholic father. I didn't want to be that man. And I have not become that man. Because I saw what it did to my family. And I know what it has done to me. Okay, so I've been down that road. I can tell you, alcohol is the evil. Cannabis is not. Cannabis is opposite of evil. It is great. It is wonderful. It is one of the best plant-based medicines we could ever use. Moderate weed smokers may have a higher IQ. I gotta tell you about this. I had a very high, when I quit high school, I was doing badly by attendance. I just didn't like sitting in classrooms. It's all wah, 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 wah. But I could go home, get high, and read and study my books. And where they didn't use but 1/3 of American history, the American history book, and out of 7 years of higher education, and they never used all the book. I read the whole book. I did all the work in the whole book. I learned the whole book. And I turned in my homework. But attendance. So they said, what are you going to do? I said, well, I quit, joined the Army. I scored so high in the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude, ASVAB test, that they had my IQ tested. I was 126 back in 1979. Today, I'm at 165. And I've smoked weed my whole life since 8 years old, with no more than a 5-year break. 5 years was the longest I went without smoking weed. But since I was 8 years old to today, I mean, I've gained 32 points in the past 5 years. I might even be higher now because it's been 2 years since I tested, because I'm still smoking. But when it comes to remembering, I have a semi-photographic and eidetic memory, and I'm empathic. And I find it very easy to learn on my own. And weed actually helped me. So, let's say, moderate weed have a higher IQ. Study completed at Carleton University, consumers that smoked 5 joints a week or less had higher IQs than non-smokers. IQ scores of 70 test subjects were measured at ages 9 to 12, and measured again when the subjects were between 17 and 20, each categorized by a level of marijuana use, and the moderate marijuana smokers scored the highest, though heavy smokers scored the lowest. I still think it's on the person, and it's a very hard thing to do, because you never know, some people don't want to learn, some people can't keep things in thought, if they don't continually think about it. Well, let's see, I'm almost done with this. 3 more things left on this list. Today's bud contains 15% THC average. Though if you're shopping at a dispensary, it is not uncommon to find strains containing 20 plus percent THC. Those are what I use. I can't use anything less than a 19. I do smoke some sativas because they're heavier in the CBD. And even though I take CBD oil, there's other stuff in the sativas that I want to get when I'm smoking. And it's not high. The sativas are not high. They're uplifting. The indicas are the ones that put you on the couch with a bowl of cereal and Netflix. So, back then in the 70s, you were lucky to find any pot that had 1 to 3% THC in it. Now, 9.6% of adults 50 and over smoke recreationally. Almost 10% of 50 plus people smoke recreationally. The majority of cannabis users are between 18 and 35, but senior smokers are on the rise. In fact, there was a 5.5% increase in senior smokers since 2002. And 9.6% over 50 still enjoy that. It says, too old for ganja? Never. Now, THC, this is very common. Those pee cleaners that you get, you can test your pee. They have good test kits. But the cleansing stuff does not work. Trust me. Do not. If you're going to get pee tested, you want to be 35 or more days before your pee test. Because THC can stay in your system for longer than 27 days. The amount of time weed stays in your system mostly depends on your metabolism. Some studies are showing that for regular users, the THC metabolites may still be present in your system for an average of 27 days. For an occasional smoker, that drops to 10 days. So, depending on when you're going to get pee tested. So, let me see what else I've got here. Oh, yes. I'm going to do something I got to do. Take a break. It'll be a nanosecond for you. Pause. And I'm back. Dog had to go out, so I decided to have a smoke. All right. All you non-smoking guys out there, get off my back. I have this. This is Newsweek.com. Sessions and Christie Governor Crisco, must stop telling lies about marijuana. It's from December. Here we go. Congress gave the Rohrabacher-Blumenauer Amendment, which bars the Department of Justice from using federal funds to prosecute people buying or selling in states that have legalized it, a temporary reprieve. However, Representative Earl Blumenauer said 2 weeks is not enough certainty, especially when you're talking about patients' well-being and a North American cannabis marketplace largely made up of small business owners and their employees that is expected to grow 33% to nearly $10 billion by the end of 2017 and creates tens of thousands of new jobs in the new year. A recent Gallup poll reveals the support for legalizing is at its highest, and like I said in the last thing, and this is the highest it's been since it was first asked in 1969. The poll showed the 4-point uptick to 64% of Americans supporting it, and supporting legalizing for medical and adult recreational. In addition to Democrats or independents supporting legalization, Republicans for the first time backed fully legalizing cannabis, a plant found to be far less harmful than alcohol and tobacco. Excuse me. Good soda. 2 federally legal substances under U.S. law, alcohol and tobacco, kill. That's it. They kill. I don't have to give you numbers. They kill. Cannabis doesn't kill. Cannabis heals. Cannabis helps you quit alcohol. Cannabis helps you quit tobacco. However, despite widespread bipartisan support for legalization and positive impacts cannabis has had on patients, Jeff Sessions seems set on launching another failed federal war on drugs campaign and cracking down on states that have partly or completely legalized use. Sessions' misguided approaches are mirrored by an equally disturbing misinformation effort by the chairman of Trump's Administration Commission on Combating Drug Addiction and the Opioid Crisis that doesn't exist, the unpopular New Jersey Governor Crisco. In the fall, Crisco released a letter announcing recommendations made by the Opioids Commission, and at an event announcing those recommendations, he called supporters of marijuana legalization crazy liberals who want to poison our kids. Christie went on to compare medical marijuana laws to the overprescribing of opioids that led to the current opioids epidemic. Many Americans really quick on the opioid epidemic. Yes, I'm taking morphine, but like I said, the pot attenuates the symptoms of addiction, and it cleans out my body. So the only way I could overdose is I'd have to knowingly take more and more and more morphine than usual. That's the only way I could overdose. Because I'm taking 240 milligrams a day. That kills my pain to a point. And that's as much as I can take. And I don't take more. Because I don't want to die. And I'm not looking for a buzz. So I don't need to take more. That's what causes people's overdoses, is they don't think they're getting high enough. They take more and more and more. Okay? The war on drugs would not do it. Many Americans and healthcare professionals were equally shocked and angered by the Commission's report and Christie's remarks. A Dr. Chenadso Cunningham, a professor of medicine at Albert Einstein College of Medicine, that conducted the first long-term study on medical marijuana's impact on opioid use for pain. He stated to CNN, "I was surprised to see negative language about marijuana in the opioid report. Research that examines pain in marijuana shows that marijuana use significantly reduces pain. In addition, the majority of studies examining marijuana and opioids show that marijuana use is associated with less opioid use and less opioid-related deaths." Smart doctor. Now, on the other hand, the opioid epidemic, which was largely sparked by a quadrupling of federally legal doctor-prescribed painkillers such as OxyContin and Vicodin since 1999, caused 59,000 deaths due to overdoses, according to a recent investigation by The Times. Tragically, this makes death from opioids the leading cause of death of Americans under age 50. Well, I'm over 50 on opiates. Not opioids. I'm on opiates. And I'm doing fine. It's the person. Addiction is in the person. It's in me, but I'm controlled. I don't have to drink. My only addiction is cigarettes. And that's because pot smoking roughs my throat out, and a little few puffs of a menthol helps. I just don't smoke 3 packs like I used to. So this guy went on to say, unfortunately, having lost loved ones to the nation's opioid crisis, I think everyone agrees we must do everything we can to address our failed drug policies. And that's what it is. They're all failed policies. Everything the DARE campaign, Nancy Reagan, Just Say No, did not work. Has not worked. Alcohol prohibition in the 1920s. Did it work? No. That's where the Rockefellers and Kennedys made their money, running booze from Canada into the States. They prohibited alcohol, and people said, we're going to drink anyway. So they legalized it. And then Harry Anslinger had to vilify his position, and so he attacked cannabis, marijuana, the plant from hell. And before I go on to the end of this, the Second Amendment, as we're using the 10th Amendment to legalize, if you people listen to me, the 10th Amendment to the United States Bill of Rights and the Constitution says that individual states have their rights. So, if they would have come knocking on my door with a federal warrant for smoking weed on YouTube, for one thing, I'll be live on Facebook while it's happening, but I don't know, I lost what was. What was I going to talk about? I got lost. I'll tell you, the pain sucks. So, there's everything we can do to address the failed public. Let's see. However, we should not tolerate lies about cannabis and successful approaches to fairly license, tax, regulate, and enforce. We also shouldn't accept Christie's and Sessions' failed war on drugs rhetoric, which only appears to be filled with personal ideologies and void of any sound supporting data and scientific facts as a viable drug reforms for our country. The truth is, science years ago discredited the idea that cannabis is a gateway drug, and scientific research increasingly shows that access to medical marijuana can help decrease rates of opioid addiction and death. So, I got lost once. That's what pain will do. I was talking about alcohol. Oh, no, I don't remember what I was talking about. I was talking about the Second Amendment. 10th Amendment. Congresspeople, senators, mayors, everybody. Anybody in the legislative chain of command. The 10th Amendment gives the individual states the power. So, like I said, if they showed up at my doorway, I would be stating that, and that is what I would use. It's the 10th Amendment has protected my state. They didn't have to invoke it, but it's still the protection. That the states can make their own laws. I mean, and there's laws on the books. There's still a law on the books that you can't spit on the sidewalk in Tucson. You make it a law, it'll be there forever. Now, if you decriminalize cannabis, it'll be forever. It won't be for this last 90 years, or however many years, 87 years, 80. just ridiculous that we can't get over the fact that this plant gets you high. And everybody believes reefer madness. At least on the Sessions side and Christie's side. Those idiots. They think reefer madness was real. And that's why I wanted to bring up the Second Amendment. I have a gun. Unloaded. No nipple sticking out. But in reefer madness, there's a scene where everybody's all giggling and happy, and this guy grabs a gun off his side table and shoots somebody. And everybody laughs. Ah, it's so funny, it's so funny. It doesn't happen like that. Okay? I would not trust myself with a gun with alcohol. But I trust myself with a gun with pot. And let me tell you, if they try to take the guns away from medical marijuana smokers, I'll be screaming. Second Amendment for one thing. 10th Amendment for letting me smoke weed. And the fact that on opening day for hunters, how many of those guys are drinking? At least some Irish coffee, little Irish whiskey in the coffee to get the blood going. You're out there in the cold, stalking a deer. You want to get warm. You drink some booze. It's okay. They advertise it on TV. Until you shoot somebody. They do. They have people that panic and shoot. Even if it's day-glow orange. They just, boom, buck fever. They shoot the first thing that moves. And alcohol is probably involved in a lot of those. Alcohol is the evil, folks. Cannabis is not. We need legalization. And the 10th Amendment to the Constitution gives us the right. And we should all have that right. I'm also a staunch Second Amendment supporter. I think people in Chicago and Detroit, let them buy guns. Because, by God, the people that are buying the guns are the ones that are defending themselves against the people with the illegal guns. Guns are illegal in Chicago. So how come it's got the highest rate of shooting deaths? Because the bad guys got guns, and you won't let the good guys have them. Now, it's the same. Well, it's not the same, but with cannabis legalization. The states that have already legalized did so for a reason. Whether it be monetary or medical, they did it for a reason. Well, Arizona is medical. That's the reason. This is a medicine. I'm being hassled right now about my opiates. My time release, I have to have a prior authorization every 3 months. Every 3 months I have to apply for a prior authorization just for my time release. It's stupid though. The immediate release morphines, those are the ones that you can shoot up. The time release morphines, you can't shoot them up like hillbilly heroin. It makes no sense. I mean, if they're going to give me a prior authorization on morphine, they should give it to me for both the morphines, right? Stunada. Yeah. Stupid people. And they're in the government, and they're in power. We need the smart people in the government to listen. Let the 10th Amendment and the Second Amendment and all the other amendments stand for the people's rights. I think more states should allow people to own firearms, because then they'll be able to defend themselves against the bad guys who can get a gun no matter what the law is. And now, people 50 and under are overdosing on opioids, but 50 and up they're not. Why? Because we're smarter. We're not looking for the buzz. We just need relief. Okay? Pain relief. The relief that I can't stop my hand shaking because I'm in so much pain. And I need my opiates because they do some good. They don't do all good, because that's when I'd hit the euphoric part. But I never do. So you can't tell me that I'm trying to get high. I'm smoking weed as much as I can to get pain relief. And I don't get high. Even from the super potent THC, I've taken a whole 2 droppers. And I don't get high. And that's THC. That's the one that hits you. That's the euphoric. Hits you right in the CB1 receptors. And I don't get high. Why? Because I'm a patient. Pain offsets. Pain offsets everything. And everybody might say, oh, but they've got these new biologics. Yes, I know all about the biologics. The ones that they tell us to ask our doctors for. I'm sorry, but if you've got type 2 diabetes, your doctor will ask you if you want to try Invokana. Right? Your doctor knows what's wrong with you. TV commercials for drugs is preying on the hypochondriac population and making people think they've got things. And then the FDA approves these drugs based on lies and falsified data. It has to be, because after a year on the market, these drugs start killing too many people and the FDA pulls it from the market. Well, they're the ones that said it was safe in the first place. Tell me where that's right. You can't. You cannot point to that and say it's right. Now, you cannot point at cannabis and say that it's bad for having killed nobody in thousands of years, and then point to the TV and say that, oh, that beer ad is just perfect. It's fine. It's funny. Yeah, it's nice and funny until somebody wraps the car around a fucking telephone pole. And it doesn't happen on weed. Anywhere that weed was found in somebody's system in a car accident, so was alcohol. And alcohol crashes where they didn't find cannabinoids in their system. Alcohol was at fault. The person and the drug. Cannabis, no. Do not point at cannabis as a dangerous drug. When there's people like me who can prove the efficacy of the healing powers. My wife can't have my pot, but she can have the CBD oil that we get mail ordered to us. She was getting the gray ring of pre-cataracts, and she had this whole body feeling like crap for 18 months. I kept saying, try hemp oil. Well, she kept going to the doctor, and the doctor's doing this and this and this and this. And he said, GERD. She says, I don't have reflux. What's GERD for? He says, okay, well, we'll approach it a different way. Then he mailed her this thing, said they're going to make her swallow a camera to check her acid levels. Well, that's GERD. All these specialists do not. I'm sorry. It's stupid. And they kept trying to make more money. Because the insurance company pays more for that little camera. Well, she took the hemp oil finally after 18 months. In fact, I got her to her friend back east with ovarian cancer. Was on chemo and not doing good. Got my wife to recommend the hemp oil from my friend Tracy, hempsavedme.com. She got through her chemo better. She gained weight, she got an appetite back, she had less pain, and cancer is almost gone. And she's still using the 900 milligram full spectrum hemp oil. My wife, she saw that, and she finally listened to me and tried it. And the gray ring's fading, and everything else is back to normal. After 18 months, it took her 3 days, 3 doses of hemp oil. And she walked out of the kitchen saying, "Oh my God, I feel better." 18 months of shit fixed in 3 days with hemp oil. And 18 months of doctors trying to force her into expensive things that the insurance company would pay for. That's unscrupulous. My doctor is not unscrupulous. My doctor has prescribed me opiates. But we started with heavy doses of ibuprofen, heavy doses of Tylenol, Aleve, Tramadol. Then that was all these other doctors. I'd get some hydrocodone from them, but not enough. 10 milligrams a day of hydrocodone. Didn't touch my pain. I was always up in the 9 to 10 level of pain. I was blind with pain. Well, it all comes down to cannabis is safe. Cannabis is great. I don't want to run this too long, and I'm getting tired, so everybody who sees this, if you're in politics, help. Use the 10th Amendment. Okay? Oklahoman, State Question 788. All you Oklahomans out there, my friend Edie says, yay! There was something about, they posted a thing about children being able to get weed. Children will never be able to get marijuana unless you give it to them. Okay? All these states that are legalizing, it's state-run or state-sponsored dispensaries that must live up to the rules. Okay? So, if a person has an ID card that says they're only 17, they're not going to get any weed. Now, you have unscrupulous adults, yes, that will buy some weed and then go sell it to some kids. Well, that's the person. It's still the person. It's not the drug. And it happens because there's people that go into Circle K and buy a 12-pack for some teenagers standing outside. It's the same thing. And you can't blame the drug. You blame the person. So, I don't know where else. I got lost on the last part. Something I was going to talk about, but it wasn't that important. But the whole thing comes down to is we need real legislation from lawmakers. And if it really takes it, Supreme Court. Take it to the Supreme Court and the 10th Amendment and all other amendments that might have any particular thing to do with marijuana. Okay? The only thing about hemp or cannabis in the Constitution is that it was printed on hemp paper. Hemp can save this country. It can build the wall. It's a multi-billion-dollar crop. It can make so many different things. Paper, plastics, paints, resins, ethanol and methanol biodiesel, hair care products, body products, shampoos, soaps. And the things that we use today, oil-based things, petroleum-based, those things are hazardous. Okay? We need reform. And that reform is in getting Big Pharma to stop pushing crap. Stop the TV campaigns that are targeting people of weak-mindedness that go to the doctor saying, "Oh, I need this." You didn't need it before, you don't need it now. A1C levels, like I said, are a snapshot of 3 months of blood sugars. Why do you need something that controls something that you have control over with your insulin and diet? Why? Why do you need it? Because Big Pharma said you did. And they say if you have trouble paying for it, we'll help you. Because they'll get their money from the insurance company for these $100 a bottle pills. It's ridiculous. Okay? And it's happening. And people can be healed with cannabis, cannabinoids, super concentrated cannabis oil, Vic Simpson oil. Cures cancers, people. It cures cancers while reversing all the symptoms that came with chemo and radiation. Fixes them. 70% of chemo and radiation patients die. 70% of cancer treatments with cannabis lived. Which is the better? 70% alive, 70% dead. If you pick the 70% dead, then you're on the side of Big Pharma and the cancer industry, and you're lying, and you're evil, and you're a bad person. Good people don't smoke marijuana, Jeff Sessions. Read between the lines. I'm a good person. I consider myself a better person than him. Of course, I consider myself better than most politicians. Sorry, guys. But you gotta look at facts, and you gotta listen to it. Political rhetoric is just that, rhetoric. Over and over and over again, telling us the same bullshit story. Well, we're tired of hearing it, okay? The jig is up. The news is out. Cannabis is the safest plant-based medicine, food, and industrial application plant ever to be found on this planet. And it's been here longer than we have, because vertebrate life was long before us. I'm an evolutionist, sorry. But that's it. And this plant and us are symbiotically tied together. Cannabinoids in the plant, endocannabinoid system in the person. Think on that. And like I said before, mothers, think on it. You're giving your baby cannabinoids in your milk and while they're in the fetus. Hemp oil is the greatest thing to have while you're pregnant and nursing. Then go to THC weed after you're done nursing. But that's for your health. Keep your baby on the CBD. Keep him healthy. You'll see a healthy child. Yes, you will. Because CBD, they just treated a premature infant on death's door. They just treated her with CBD oil in the hospital in Colorado. And she's gonna live. She's surviving. Cannabis helps people. Big Pharma steals. They're stealing lives, they're stealing money. And they're lying and cheating and doing whatever they can. And they're paying off whoever they can to keep cannabis and hemp under wraps. And it is a very grave disservice to the people of Earth and this country. We need to legalize marijuana, and we need to free cannabis from the prison of ignorance. Thank you, people.